Hi, it's Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. We are on Abbey Map and we've got Ghost from Dream Clan. He's in the new Tier 11 German heavy tank, the Taschenratte. Now, most of you would have actually played this in the PvE game, the Operation Bowling Point. So you would have noticed that it's got two forms of guns. The main armament is the 130mm, which has got reasonably average penetration, etc. We'll have a look at that in a second. But the key difference between this and, say, the U100 on the mouse is the secondary armament, which you can control, which is a bit unusual. And you see the counter that's just going up, just getting closer now. You've got effectively what they call a pillbox mode, and I'm not sure of the caliber, but possibly 50mm, no, maybe 75mm. But they fire HE, so shooting at the side of targets or to the rear, you can do around about an extra 200 hit points of damage. So I think it's about 500-ish for the main gun, and you can get that up to 700. But that counter takes around about 20 seconds to come up, so it's about once every 2 main rounds. So I think if you just use that as a sort of rule of thumb, you sort of get a feel for when to use it. Alright, now Ghost is coming up the one line, traditional sort of heavy tank play. The frontal armour is pretty awesome. That's probably one of the main strengths. The actual sort of performance in terms of dynamics, not so great. Three, two, one. Alright. So, just didn't manage to penetrate the front of the T110E5, so switching to the heat rounds. Now let's have a look at the pen. So heat is 330, again pretty average, not even for tier 10, 268 for the APCR. But pick your weak spots and you should be able to penetrate. So I've got the side of the T110E5. I was talking about the armour. Okay, so the armour profile, not dissimilar to the mouse. The turret cheeks are probably the main weak spot, just like the mouse, and it's got a very narrow lower frontal plate, just like the mouse as well, and that again is a weak spot. But with a little bit of subtle angling, and with turning the turret away to angle again, I wouldn't say it's impenetrable, but the experienced tankers will not be able to do all that well against it. But there you go, penetration from the 803. But that 803 being whittled down, so Ghost's going to pull up here and use his gun again. Managed to get a critical hit. So he hasn't done a lot of damage here, but he also, yes, did he use his secondaries? Maybe, maybe not. Wasn't really paying attention, but they're recharging at the moment, so let's see if we get the opportunity to do that extra bit of damage. So got an enemy Taschenratte right in front, so he'll perhaps try and avoid him. He's getting some assisted damage here from tracking, so picked up 1,000 hit points so far in terms of assisted damage. Got a bit of lower front plate there, and he goes through the 803 and takes him out, so that was a worthwhile kill. Now, there's the Taschenratte. There you go, aiming for the cheeks, but that didn't penetrate. He's only got 9 heat rounds left, so he's going to have to be fairly careful. Lower front plate, possibility. The angle's enough, he can go through the side of the turret. And again, it's a pretty narrow weak spot on the cheeks of the turret, but if you can get him to sit still, which he probably doesn't want to do, but this is the best tactic. Come here to the side, and he manages to penetrate there, and you can see doing about, yeah, just over 500 hit points of damage. And he can deploy his HE rounds here, goes for the tracking, which he manages to do, and now he's lined up the turret. Still doesn't go through. Takes the hit from the Taschenratte. So he's actually doing a good job of penetrating, but you can see Ghost is looking for that opportunity. Finally gets it and gets the kill, but not a lot of hit points. So only 2.5k of damage done so far. There's still 10k of enemy in front of them, so definitely worthwhile, and it's got an E50M up ahead, who will actually be a nice juicy target. Now this is the sort of tank you can penetrate quite easily. So I mean, even though this is a tier 11, yeah, you're not getting real benefits from the gun and that sort of things. Right, okay, E50M running away, and you just heard the 2 quick clips. That's the secondary armament going on, and he's pumped that up. So you can see 450 from one hit, that's the main armament, 177 and 105. You just see that in the bottom left corner. So getting an extra 270, 280 hit points of damage. Now very carefully lines up the cupola of the E5, and again, weak spots American tanks, no real problem. But he hasn't switched off from his heat rounds at this point, so he's only got 3 left. He could have done that with the standard rounds, I suspect. At this point, heading back to base, they've done pretty well on this line. They've basically cleaned up the enemy. E100's gone after the E50M there. Not sure if that's a good idea. In fact, the E50M takes out the E100. Now, you've got to be careful here. This stage of the game, with Wargaming putting out basically free tier 10s to any player, everyone's got that reward, so that's good in that sense. If you've been struggling just to get to your tier 10 level, but you've been at tier 9 for a while, it's a bit of a godsend. You've got alt accounts that you want to get up quickly and maybe use them in a clan. That's good. But if you're a brand new player, you actually get 2 free tier 10 lines, and what we're seeing in some games is that more than sort of 4 or 5 players in the game have got less than 100 games, and some less than 40 and some less than 20 games. So it's not necessarily good for this gameplay level to have a lot of inexperienced players. On the other hand, if you're a really good player, you can take advantage of it and you can generate a lot of damage. Now, Ghost hasn't really managed to replicate that in this game so far, but time to tell. He's still got his armour. Now, we talked about mobility before, of course. RHM Panzerwagen taken out, that's a good get, and there's Leopard 1, won't have any problems penetrating in. E50M fires from the balcony and fails to penetrate, but he's showing his rear, and there you go, penetrates at that point. But he focuses the Leopard 1 and manages to get a kill, so he's picked up 5 kills now. And just closing in on 5k of damage. E50M bounces again. May not bounce again, but Ghost staying spotted all this time, mainly because of this Jagdpanzer E100 in front. Now, what can he do about him? Okay, lower front plate, won't have any problems penetrating. Can he bounce in coming around? Certainly can. There's 1,050 bounce, so he's up to 7k nearly of bouncing, and there you go, puts in his secondaries, manages to set a fire. Now that's probably one of the benefits of this one, so you get that extra bit of damage. Only 88 and 41 from the actual rounds, and that's probably because they bounced, but it is HE. So you get that effect, and the fire, in fact the fire was 88, the rounds only got 41, so one of them didn't penetrate, one of them got a little bit of splash damage. So he does actually get penned by the Jagdpanzer E100, but he's not going to lose out this time. Get around the side, waits till he gets around the Jagdpanzer E100, can't do anything about it, and that's the kill. So up to 6k now damage. He's blocked 7k, he's got 1.9.
Much obliged.
And there's just the Hirschkampfer, if I've pronounced that correctly, and the E50M, both last seen back in the balcony. So he's got to take his life into his hands in this case. They lose virtual life, of course, in the game, and head towards their front on is not necessarily going to be a good thing. So takes the wise angle here, gets towards basically the ruined remains up ahead, put that between him and the balcony. But at some point he's got to poke a little bit, and what he can probably do is basically angle and bait the incoming fire and get the shot. So he just needs to protect his lower front plate and also his turret to some extent. But he could catch one of them unawares on the balcony. No chance he's not going to get spotted when this happens, so just trying to bait the shot. Did he get spotted? Yes, he did, so there's definitely someone up there. Panzerkampfwagen 7 comes in, takes a big hit. That's the Hirschkampfer. Can he line him up? Oh yes, he can, but he misses, unfortunately. Can he get his secondaries in? That's what he wants to do. Bang bang. No, didn't do anything. Gets the kill though. Does take a shot from the 50M. This time the EFTM penetrates, leaves him on 83 hit points. But we don't think the EFTM's got many hit points left. In fact, he's got 104. So can he line him up? Yes, he can. Or he's just pulled back. Now he's going to come out in a second, I'm sure. So he might perhaps put a blind shot in here. Yes, he does and gets the kill. Alright, that's the end of the game. Just over 6k of damage, but he's blocked 7.5k. That's the Taschenratte. Well, not quite the damage we might be used to with the tier 11s that we've seen. Not getting over 10k, but I mean, that's becoming, sort of the new targets. Alright, anyway, 6.4k of damage. He's blocked 7.5k, another 1.9k of assisted damage there. So we're looking at 8.3k of combined damage. And he has picked up 8 kills, so that's the more important part here. Ace Tanker Mastery Badge. Radley-Walters for the 8 kills, of course the Top Gun for the first 6 kills, and he's got the Steel Wall for the blocking. So again, that would have been pretty frustrating for the enemy. We'll have a look at the other Taschenratte in terms of what was blocked. But he's finished on top there. Experience-wise, 1664, that is pretty good. I mean, for Tier 10, that was awesome. Tier 11, we're sort of learning, what's going to be the new baselines, but that is good in anyone's battle. Experience generally around 1300 gets you an ace tanker in most tanks, and so that's definitely overachieving there. Anyway, great game there from Ghost. Thanks very much for supplying the content. Now, I just want to check a theory. Let's have a look at some of the underperforming players and just see how many battles they've done. It's not to sort of call them out at all, but let's have a look at this Type 5 Heavy and see what his service record looks like. Probably should blur this out, but there you go. This is what I'm talking about. 58 battles played, and these may be re-roll accounts, of course. Not really calling it out in that sense, but when you see an underperforming player, no, I'm not picking on that player in particular, but just to illustrate the point that you see, particularly if there's a player who's not in a clan and they're underperforming, they're generally going to be very inexperienced at this tier, and it's just something to be careful of. Can't really rely on them to make good decisions or to really help out. All right, anyway, let's get off that topic. I'm going to spend too much time talking about it if we do. Let's have a look at the economics of the Taschenratte. We haven't really seen this much before. So got the platoon bonus. Again, just can't under-emphasize the potential of the platoon bonus there. Plus running personal reserves get him very nice income. But expenses-wise, 35k for the damage. Now, he got down to 81 hit points. So that just tells you the cost of overall repair is not going to be much more than that. 97k on ammunition, which was a fair chunk of premium. 26k on expendables, and he made a profit therefore of just under 80k, so not too bad, but you'd have to say that's mainly because of running personal reserves and having the platoon bonus. But in any case, great result there. 1664 base is good play in anyone's language. Hopefully you learned something about the Taschenratte you hadn't seen before, and again, it's a pretty new tank, so to see it in battle I think is worthwhile. If you've got value out of this, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, that's an option for you. We'll have more great content to follow. Thanks very much for watching.